Hi guys. So I'm making this video as a follow-up for a comment that I had left on John X Army's channel a few months back, and a friend asked if I would post this because they tried to click the link that I left in the comment and they couldn't. I want to state that this is not intended to be sensationalistic in any way. It's just some facts, and sometimes I think that things can get blown out of proportion, but there is some valuable information toward the second half of this article, in my opinion. So I'll just go ahead and I'll link below, but I'm just going to read through this. So, pressure-treated lumber. Excuse me. What safety should be telling you before use. Pressure-treated lumber is used in both interior and exterior construction. It's especially popular in outdoor construction, commercial building, and maritime installation, as the wood is rendered impervious to the elements. Ranchers use it for fences, utility companies use it for power poles, government agencies use it for bus stops and boardwalks. Do-it-yourselfers use it the most, for barriers to set off gardens, for decks, to barbecue, for picnic tables, and swing sets. Pressure-treated lumber has been available for about 60 years. Pressure-treated wood is truly a wood for all seasons. It's a rugged exterior building product that's rot and insect resistant. Most original formulas centered around arsenic as the main preservative to help lumber withstand the extremes of outdoor use. As one might expect, the use of a potentially poisonous substance like arsenic was cause for considerable concern, particularly when children are exposed to such installations. You should never burn pressure-treated wood of any type. When you do, the cellulose burns off and the heavy metals remain behind in the ashes, in more concentrated forms. Without the cellulose, the chemicals now become soluble again, like they were before they were fixated to the cellulose, and in this form, they are once again toxic. Ashes from the pressure-treated wood are almost as toxic as the raw chemicals. For some people, this is shocking. Somehow, because it has started as wood, we should be able to burn it. But there are many things in our houses that will kill us if we burn them, like all the plastic pipes and synthetic rugs and drapes. If you want to learn about the toxicity of smoke from burning plastic, just talk to any fireman. So, like many things in our house, don't burn pressure-treated wood. Bury it, take it to the dump. If the wood has a greenish tint, it has been pressure-treated with CCA to address the pressure-treated wood safety concerns. In 2002, the United States Environmental Protection Agency convinced lumber manufacturers to find a non-arsenic-based formula for treated. This result is ACQ, alkaline copper quality treated lumber. Two types of treatment nowadays: amine copper quat ACQ and copper azole CA. CCA, which stands for chrome, copper, and arsenic, is applied under pressure to force it deep into lumber and then cured in a fixating process, which attaches these chemicals in a highly dispersed fashion to the cellulose of the wood. This turned out to be economical, safe, and long-lasting. It has become the standard for preserving wood around the world. There have been efforts to use less toxic chemicals, but borax-based treatments tended to leach out and leave the wood exposed, although the better of these have evolved to copper azole type B or Ca-B. ACQ has been around for a long time, but has only become common because of an ecological phase-out of CCA. Why was it used and safety ignored? Simple: arsenic was cheap. Most of new chemicals rely on copper, which isn't cheap. So to keep the cost reasonable, lumber now is treated according to its intended use, with the copper content in the preserving chemical varying from around 20 to 95%. The new ACQ treated lumber contains a very high level of copper to replace the arsenic. While this reduces the desired risk of poisoning, it does present a different but very dangerous problem: increased level of corrosion. The EPA is mainly concerned with levels of chromiated copper arsenate, CCA in pressure-treated lumber. As with the arsenate in CCA is a type of arsenic which is a carcinogenic. We are exposed to arsenic, mostly organic forms, every day because very small amounts are present in all soil, water, and food. We typically eat 20 to 50 micrograms. A microgram is a millionth of a gram of mostly organic arsenic a day. Low levels of arsenic are in everything we eat. The biggest source is in shellfish. Soils contain both organic and inorganic arsenic. Background levels of arsenic in soil amounts due to geological weathering, not to human contamination, typically range from 0.1 to upwards of 10 parts per million ppm, and up to 40 ppm, which is considered tolerable according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Above that level, detectable amounts start showing up in children's urine because kids ingest dirt. The wood is treated with a solution that includes hexavalent chromium, that's the toxin in the film Erin Brockovich, which was based on the real-life story of a scrappy law clerk who links a town's medical problems to pollution in the drinking water. Injuries from pressure-treated lumber. According to the National Academy of Sciences, long-term exposure to the arsenic that is found in some types of CCA pressure-treated lumber can increase the risk of lung, bladder, and skin cancer over a person's lifetime. Among the incidents, a New York man swelled up and stopped breathing while he was making a deck. An Indiana man vomited several pints of blood after making a picnic table. An Alabama man got a splinter that caused his hand to swell up like a lobster claw. A California man got a headache that lasted 5 days after boring holes in the wood. A Florida man lost 2 prize racehorses after they ate CCA-treated fencing. A Wisconsin family suffered seizures, blackouts, and massive hair loss after burning it. In one complaint, a Melbourne beach man told the EPA in 1997 that for 3 years he sawed CCA wood at a construction site. He suspected that sawdust and fumes from a hot saw ruined the nerves in his legs and feet. He said the doctors in Jacksonville and Gainesville told him he was just getting old, but another doctor found high levels of arsenic in his hair. Specific lumber that poses a danger. While other defective product listings may focus on the specific brands, with pressure-treated lumber there are no brands to be targeted. Instead, the focus needs to be on the year that the wood was treated. Trouble is, the new arsenic-free pressure-treated lumber also presents hidden hazards that few people realize. If you're planning to build an outdoor project this spring, you need to understand crucial details for your work to endure. And don't assume that every builder understands the seriousness of this issue. Special concerns. The sawdust from PT, pressure-treated wood, is an irritant to the nose, eyes, and skin. The use of a dust mask and eye protection is highly recommended. Avoid contact with the skin as much as possible. Wash hands before eating. Wash clothes after use. Try to collect as much of the sawdust as possible for disposal. Do your cutting in one specified location and lay a heavy disposable plastic tarp under the sawing area. Use of a tarp is especially valuable if you must cut in an area that you cannot easily sweep, such as a lawn. Do not allow dust to get into the soil where children may play, etc. Pressure-treated wood should not be burned under any circumstances. The fumes can be toxic, and the ash is very toxic. Do not use pressure-treated wood for making cutting boards or for any food preparation surface. Picnic tables made of pressure-treated wood are fine to use for the purpose they were intended to serve food on or play cards on, not prepare food on. Doesn't that seem like they said that forward and backward, but the wrong way? But can you count on this? Safety rules for handling building with the new breeds of lumber read the same as for old wood, despite the freedom of arsenic. According to Environment Canada, avoid using the new pressure-treated lumber where direct food contact is possible. Keep it away from animal food storage bins, water troughs, and compost bins. Wear gloves and long sleeve shirts when working with pressure treated lumber and put on a dust mask when cutting it. Wash your hands after working with the product and especially before eating, drinking, or smoking. Launder work clothes separately before reuse and never burn pressure treated wood scraps. All of these safety rules, new, pressure treated, or old, the no burn requirement is the most important. Besides the rules for safe handling of pressure treated lumber, there is a structural issue, and it has to do with a chemical interaction that's not obvious. The problem stems from copper's very high levels of conductivity. Simply put, ACQ treated lumber is extremely corrosive to metal fasteners, such as nails, screws, deck hangers, etc. This problem has been complicit in a number of deck collapses in recent years, the worst of which occurred in Kentucky in 2003, where 13 people died and another 57 were injured. The first sign of trouble shows up as rapid staining of the wood surrounding these fasteners, often within just a few weeks of construction. And within a few years, the choice of inappropriate fasteners will cause premature deck failure as nails and screws are reduced to crumbly iron oxide. Hot-dipped galvanized nails and screws offer the minimum level of corrosion protection required by today's modern lumber. Stainless steel is even better, though there's a problem. It's not always easy to know the makeup of fasteners just by looking at them. In fact, you can't tell what you've got just by sight. If you are working with arsenic-containing PT and suffer short-term health effects such as headaches, dizziness, and muscle spasm, or notice a garlic odor on your breath or feces, call the occupational health clinic or your doctor. These are warning signs of overexposure. The symptoms will vary depending on the amount of and duration of exposure. Is there a solution? The increased level of corrosion should make the woodworker think more about the fasteners that they use on treated lumber woodworking projects. Just any wood screw or nail will not do. Instead, look for fasteners that are specifically designed for use with ACQ treated materials. What types of fasteners are acceptable for use in this type of treated lumber? Stainless steel or copper. Both stainless steel and copper fasteners are virtually immune to corrosion. Galvanized fasteners. Can you use galvanized nails and screws with the new ACQ treated lumber? Yes and no. Plain old galvanized fasteners simply aren't designed for increased level of corrosion and could fail in a very short period of time. However, many fastener manufacturers now offer hot-dipped galvanized screws, nails, hangers, and brackets under a variety of brand names. The key is to look on the package for a G-185 designation, which refers to the thickness of the galvanization. Anything less than G-185 is inappropriate for ACQ lumber. Some manufacturers also offer deck screws and other connectors that have a non-galvanized coating that appears to be painted on the fastener. These typically have a dark green or brown color, and the package is clearly marked for use on ACQ treated stock. The deck screws that I prefer to use offer a lifetime guarantee of the fastener that will not corrode when used with ACQ lumber. These are readily available at most home improvement centers. They often include a special square head Phillips bit for designed for use with these screws. Currently, there are 12 levels of pressure treatment. What are the safety precautions regarding the use of pressure-treated wood? The sawdust from pressure-treated wood can be an irritant to the nose, the eyes, and skin. Use of a dust mask and eye protection is highly recommended. Prevent contact with skin as much as possible. Try to collect as much of the sawdust as possible for disposal. If possible, do most of your cutting in a specified location and lay a heavy disposable plastic tarp under your saws or sawhorses. Use of a tarp is especially valuable if you must cut in an area that you cannot easily sweep, such as a lawn. Actually, this is a cleanup time saver you can use even when cutting ordinary boards, especially if you generate large amounts of dust, as in making rip cuts. Pressure-treated wood should not be burned, except by professionals. Other products that are not that are on the do not burn list are plywood, particle board, chipboard, and painted or finished wood. To be fair, there was one government study that did not find any more toxicity in the smoke from the pressure-treated wood than from a regular wood. The ash, though, was definitely more toxic because the arsenic does not burn off. So you wouldn't want to add this ash to soil or to your compost heap. All of us who have heated their homes with wood know how ash is everywhere and on everything. Do not use pressure-treated wood for making cutting boards or for any food preparation surface. Picnic tables made of pressure-treated wood have become common and are fine to use for the purpose that they were intended, to serve food on or play cards on, not to prepare food on. They should be coated as needed with an oil-based wood preservative, not paint or opaque stain, to seal in the chemical preservative. Pressure-treated wood is intended for outdoor use only. There are a few exceptions to this rule, though you should check with your local building inspector to be sure. First is the use of pressure-treated wood in place of Douglas fir for sill plates in new construction. Sill plates are the lowest framing boards in a wood home. Dampness in the poured concrete foundation can be absorbed by the sill plate, making it attractive to carpenter ants and termites. Pressure-treated wood is resistant to termites and unappetizing to ants, so it can help convince the little critters to go next door for dinner. The second is for so-called permanent wood foundations, and the third is to replace the bottom plate on wall framing in basements or other below-grade applications, especially when the bottom plate is resting directly on a concrete foundation subject to dampness. In both these cases, pressure-treated wood, PT wood, is essential to prevent rot and lengthen the life of the job. Stains first. Many manufacturers carry full lines of both oil and latex products that can be used on pressure-treated wood. You may apply a clear preservative immediately, but it must be a product manufactured for use on fresh pressure-treated lumber. Don't even think about painting fresh pressure-treated wood. The moisture in it stacks the deck against the good paint adhesion. Seal your project with a pressure-treated wood preservative immediately. Follow the preservative instructions regarding furniture painting, making special note of the amount of time the preservative should weather before painting. It has been noted in some studies that paints and opaque exterior stains do not offer the protection of stains that are absorbed more deeply into the wood. Tips for working with pressure-treated wood. Pre-drill any nail or screw holes within an inch of the end of the board. This lessens the chance of splitting the board while fastening it, even if it doesn't split when you initially fasten it without pre-drilling. It will very likely do so later as the wood dries out. Use the right fasteners. Use only screws or nails that are galvanized and designed for use with the new copper-based pressure-treated wood. Do not allow any space between boards when laying in a deck floor. Putting spacers between the floorboards is the amateur's biggest mistake. Pressure-treated wood shrinks even if you coat it with a preservative. Years ago, when it first came on the market, people installed deck floors like good old untreated Douglas fir. Installing the boards with spacers between them. Wood shrinkage typically caused 3/4 of an inch or wider gaps in the floor, just the right width to snap off a high heel. Can your deck posts be buried? Yes, if they are rated for ground contact. This is dependent on local codes. Some do not allow the burial of posts under any circumstances, and they must be set or physically attached to concrete footings. If you look at the end grain of any board, you'll notice the rings have a particular curve to them. Bark side refers to the side of the board that the rings curve away from. In other words, bark side up would be a deck board that has the visible grain curve downward. With pressure-treated southern yellow pine, the most common type, you might even see a little bark on some pieces. There's been lots of debates on this issue because of the process called cupping. Cupping refers to the tendency of a board to bend across its width as it dries. Ideally, you would want all the deck boards to cup downwards so any rain would run off rather than collect on the wood. The truth is, not all boards react in the wild as they do in the laboratory or in the woodworking shop. For example, unlike redwood or cedar, which are installed dry, pressure-treated wood is installed damp or even soaking wet. The excess moisture from the preservative treatment can cause excess cupping as it dries, whether it is installed with the bark up or down. In other words, the simple drying action of the sun and wind can cause the top of the board to dry faster than the bottom, causing cupping regardless of the exposure of the exposed top. Is your deck safe? Look at the areas where fasteners are in contact with pressure-treated lumber. A certain amount of white-colored corrosion is normal and perfectly safe. However, if you notice any reddish, rusty discoloration in those areas of your fasteners or brackets, you may have a potentially serious problem to deal with. It would be a good idea to have your deck professionally inspected and have the offending connectors replaced as soon as possible. Pressure-treated wood is made with chemicals that are highly toxic in their concentrated liquid state, and for this reason, the treatment plants are tightly controlled. These chemicals are effectively dispersed into very dilute concentrations and fixed into the cellulose structure of the wood by the pressure treatment process. The extent to which any of these chemicals leach out under typical weathering conditions is considered way under any danger levels by both U.S. and Canadian health authorities. Pressure-treated wood is in fact safe to work with and safe to play on. All woods require working precautions related to dust and splinters. Pressure-treated wood has special precautions relating to burning it, and now new precautions related to cleaning it. See below. The legal actions taken against pressure-treated wood tend to succeed in the media, where there is no burden of proof, but constantly fail in the health laboratories and other courts where health hazard claims have not held up the burden of proof. So I'm not going to go any further into that. I'll just link below so that I don't want to expose anybody's name for comments and stuff like that, just out of respect for the people. But that's the article, and like I said, it's not intended to sensationalize, but there are a few things that are in there that you might perk your ears up to and maybe do a little bit of further investigation. Thanks, guys. I hope I got through that okay, and I love you, and I'll talk to you again real soon.